Hello and welcome. You're listening to Start Again with Shaunna Lee, the place where you will be reminded that it's never too late and you're never too old to do the damn thing. So stick around if you're ready to vibe higher and be inspired to chase your dreams. Together, we will uncover your soul's truest desires. Now, if you're ready, let's get started. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Simply Shaunna episode. Today we are diving into one of my favorite topics, which is self-care. You know that I am super passionate about giving to ourselves first so that we can then be of service to those in our lives that we care about. The whole fill your cup so that you can actually give to others. You cannot fill from an empty cup. We know all of these things, but one of my favorite ways to help people kind of figure out what their self-care should look like, because let's face it, a lot of times we hear the phrase self-care and we think, oh, I don't have the money to go get a massage, or I don't have the time to just sit in a nail salon and be spoiled. But I will tell you, you do have the time and you do have the resources to give to yourself in the best possible way. And that's what I wanted to walk you through today is my favorite way to do that, which is to look at love languages. So typically, when we hear about love languages, it's about how we can show up for our partner in the best way. There's a book even about, how we can love our teenagers, the love languages of teenagers. The fact of the matter is everyone has love languages and some are more important than others. And when we know what those are for the people in our lives that we care about, that's how we can show up for them and communicate how much we care about them. However, if we turn the tables and actually look at what our love languages are, that can be an incredible way for you to take care of yourself and to spend time loving yourself. I think, especially for divorced women, this idea of loving ourselves is kind of the last thought and the last thing to consider at the end of the day, or even at the beginning of the day. We wake up, and if you're a single mom, you are instantly thrown into how can I show up for my kids, go to work, do all the things. That self-care and loving ourselves tends to be the last thing that we consider. And what I recommend is that is the first thing you consider each day. And so it doesn't always have to be this grandiose half a day at the spa solution. What I think works better is to create a morning routine, some sort of little ritual, so that you are starting the day by making yourself a priority. And that can take 2 minutes. It can take 10 minutes. It does not have to take a lot of resources in terms of time or money. But we're going to dig into each of those. So if you're familiar with the love languages, then this will be an easy concept for you. If you are not, I'm going to share a little bit about what they are. So the 5 love languages are acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, and touch. And so you can, and I'll put this in the show notes, but you can go out and take a quiz and it will tell you what the most important love languages to you are. I can tell you that mine are quality time and gifts. So that's where I have a lot of recommendations. I can tell you what those are like. I love to give and receive presents. That is one of the reasons I love birthdays so much. And any party that I host includes party favors and gifts to everybody who came. Like, I just adore showing people how much I care about them in this way. And I also love to receive presents. It took me a long time to be able to be on the receiving end of that. And then quality time is super important to me. So if somebody goes out of their way to spend time with me, then that's how I know that they really care about me. But also the reason why some of my suggestions to you over and over again are in this category, because this is how I take care of myself. So let's go back to the beginning and let's talk about the first one, which is acts of service. So this is all about people doing things for another person. And if you are looking at self-care and how exactly do you do an act of service for yourself? Well, I'm going to tell you. So, one of my favorite things to tell single moms, especially, is to delegate to your children. And so, this is really when it comes to clearing our plate, minimizing our list of to dos, being able to delegate certain chores to our kids is kind of a no brainer. Also, really fucking difficult. It is much faster and easier for me to do something than it is for me to teach my kids how to do that thing, right? But one of the ways that I've realized I can both serve them by teaching them life skills and also give back to myself is to have them do those things for me, even if initially it takes me longer to teach them and it's more painful to get there. When I'm able to then get there, which is to delegate a chore to my kids, like for example, teaching my son how to mow the lawn, it is allowing him to provide an act of service for me. Whether or not I'm making him do it and he's grumbling along the way, it doesn't matter. I am giving to myself. And so that's one of the ways that we can focus on self-care if acts of service is our main love language. Another suggestion for you is to ask a friend to do something for you. So perhaps you need a little extra time to yourself, so you would like to ask your friend to pick your kid up from school so that you can get an extra 30 minutes to do whatever it is that's on your list you would like to do. Being able to allow our friends to show up and provide an act of service for us sometimes requires that we ask for it. So I always encourage my friends and family and clients to ask for help. And that can be especially important if acts of service is your top love language. Another one is, because a lot of times acts of service is doing a chore or a nice thing like washing your car. So perhaps you go through and drive through and get your car washed because that is a way for you to take care of yourself so that you are driving a nice, clean, shiny car. I don't know about you, but that always makes me feel better. Acts of service is not generally my top love language, but those things do matter. So being able to just incorporate one extra little thing into your day that is taking care of yourself, like having your car washed, can be self-care in the way of acts of service. So the second love language that we're talking about is words of affirmation. If you're like me, words of affirmation is likely not really high on the list, but everyone can appreciate having kind things spoken to them. And so if words of affirmation is one of your top love languages, this will be critical for you to find a way to provide self-care in the way of verbal affirmations. So here's a few suggestions. One, you can set an alarm in your phone and let it give you a mantra or an affirmation of some sort, feeding yourself positively in a way that is going to build you up. So here's one of my favorite mantras. I got this from Amanda Francis at amandafrancis.com. And this was a really helpful one. I love this for single moms, especially when we are kind of building ourselves back up after divorce. You feel a little defeated. You probably feel a little lonely. And if you're trying to venture out into the dating sphere, it can be a little discouraging. So here is my mantra for you. Put it in your phone, have an alarm that goes off every day, and it reminds you that you are a catch, you are the prize, you are the whole damn vibe. I love that one. It just is like build you up, make you feel more confident. So if words of affirmation are yours, then reminding yourself how you're a badass and why you're amazing is the goal. And so another thing that you can do is this mirror exercise. This one actually makes me a little uncomfortable from time to time, which is why I encourage you to do it. I lean into those things that make me uncomfortable because generally I have learned that that means I really need that. But this mirror exercise is really fun, or it can be really fun. You simply look at yourself in the mirror and you say kind things to you. That is it. It's really easy. I will say it is really simple. It may not be easy, but if words of affirmation are your mojo, then this is how you should start your day. You should, after you're ready or when you first wake up, whichever, look at yourself in the mirror and say nice things. You're a badass. You can conquer this day. You are amazing. You are so smart. You're a great mother. All of the things that you would love for someone else to say to you, say to yourself. And listen, this can take 3 seconds to say one nice thing as you do the final look over and go about your day. So again, self-care does not have to be a full day at the spa. It can simply be a morning reminder that you're a badass and you're amazing before you go wake up your kids for the day. Another thing is, again, for this ask for help theme that you're going to hear from me often, is you can call up a friend and say, you know what? I need a little boost. Can you remind me, please, of what I'm doing well? Can you please tell me what you see that I'm getting right? And listen, our friends are eager to help us and would love to remind us of the things that we forget to see in ourselves. And so it is okay for you to ask your friends to remind you about what you're getting right. And it'll likely surprise you. It will absolutely make you feel better and boost your confidence. So if you are looking for ways to fill your cup in the way of words of affirmation, ask a friend. The third love language is gifts, which I talked about how I love receiving presents. Had to teach myself to be good at receiving. And I love, love, love to give presents. So this one, if this is your top love language and you're looking for new self-care aspects, then find ways to gift yourself special, nice things. Now, it doesn't always have to be an amazing pair of shoes, but it can be. It doesn't always have to be an expensive bag, but it can be. Find ways to give yourself permission to treat yourself. You could simply, instead of making coffee at home in the morning, go through a drive-through and treat yourself to an amazing latte. It doesn't have to be a daily thing in terms of buying coffee every morning, but it can be an occasional addition to your morning. It could be a weekly reminder that, you know what, I'm killing it this week. I deserve to buy myself a special treat. And another kind of simple, low dollar thing to do is you could treat yourself to a new journal, or you could buy yourself a treat because you have accomplished a goal. It could be any number of ways, but when you can find a way to gift yourself something that makes you feel special, it acknowledges what you've done well, then that can be a great way to fill your cup, give back to yourself, love yourself in the way of gifts. And it doesn't always have to cost a lot of money, but I will say for single moms, we tend to be really horrible at this aspect of investing in ourselves and giving back to ourselves. So I would challenge you to look at what is actually feasible. And when it is not preventing you from buying groceries for your kids and it's not standing in the way of you, actually taking care of your responsibilities, but maybe you're just justifying why it's not necessary, that's when I would say, give back to yourself, treat yourself, you deserve it. So find a way that it is financially responsible, but gift yourself what you need and what you deserve. And then the fourth self-care in the way of love languages is quality time. So again, this is one of my favorite love languages. It tends to be the one that is most important to me, which is why all of my recommendations to you guys kind of fall in this category of how you can spend time with yourself. So in the way of meditation or journaling, these are my top two ways to spend time with yourself. But the reason I always recommend these is for me, meditation is, and I just answered a question recently, what tools have I used to overcome feelings of loneliness? And it was in a divorce support group. And I suggested meditation because it allows me to feel supported. It allows me to feel completely and wholly loved. It allows me to connect back to my inner being and to the divine. It allows me to just pause and listen. And that is why meditation is on repeat, my suggestion for people in terms of a morning routine, but definitely on the list if quality time is a love language of yours that is a top priority. A couple other ways that you could spend time with yourself. Listen, as single moms, we are busy and time is usually a hot commodity. And so, any way that you can allow yourself an extra 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes of quality time with yourself can be an amazing way to fill your cup and to really guide your self care. So, it could be as easy as taking a walk around the neighborhood. It could be allowing yourself 20 minutes in the morning with your coffee to read a book. And it could be just prioritizing a hobby that's important to you. I have recently picked up knitting again. I love to knit, and it has been a great way for me to just focus on something that I enjoy, but also give myself permission to just dive into a hobby because it makes me happy. So instead of trying to work or squeeze in a phone call while I'm waiting on my kids at the ice rink, I can just spend 20 minutes knitting for no other reason than it makes me happy. And so that can be an amazing self-care through love languages if quality time is yours to spend time with yourself. And then the last one, I mentioned this last on purpose. The love language of touch is probably lowest on my list. Most days as a single mom, I am touched out, and it isn't what is most important to me, but it is for a lot of people. So if touch is your top love language, then finding ways to incorporate being touched is really important and critical. That can be a really great way to incorporate a massage into your self-care routine. And I would recommend that if this is a priority and you are making that investment in yourself, then be sure that you have your next one scheduled. And when you're at that appointment, schedule the next one. So that is a really great way to just make sure that you are making your love language a priority in the way that you take care of yourself. And then another really great suggestion I heard recently around touch and love languages was to sign up for a dance class, because whether you are single or part of a couple, being able to take a dance class requires you to touch other people. And so sign up for whatever class that is that you have been interested in taking or getting better at, or even if you're really great at two-stepping, go participate in a class. It can be a great way to meet new people, obviously, but also can make touch a priority to you because you are being touched by dancing with other people. So that can be a really fun way to make touch as your love language a part of your self-care. And then the last one I have for you in terms of suggestions around touch is it actually comes from a story. I heard this story recently, and it was very interesting because this girl was on a date, and it was not a first date. She and this guy had been going out for a while, and she was frustrated that she was not seeing the physical affection from him that she was used to. And she was getting frustrated and just kept focusing on the fact that he wasn't holding her hand and he hadn't touched her leg, and just all these things that he had done previously that he wasn't doing. And that's what she appreciated most, was because she is physically affectionate. Touch is one of her top love languages. So she excused herself and she went to look in the mirror in the bathroom, and she hugged herself, and she appreciated how good she looked, and just stood there hugging herself and giving to herself the physical affection that she was wanting. She said, "I look like a crazy person" when people were walking in the bathroom. And then when she went back out to rejoin him at the table, she said it was the most amazing thing, because what happened next is he reached over and put his hand on my knee, and then he was holding my hand through the rest of the dinner. She said it was the most amazing thing, that by giving to herself what she needed, it actually attracted more of what she was wanting from him. So if touch is your love language, hug yourself. It can be that simple. So at the end of the day, I think love languages are a great way for us to, one, give back to ourselves and build, this great self-care routine, or shake things up and incorporate new things in the ways that we take care of ourselves. But it teaches us how to love other people better. But the priority and the focus for this episode is self-care, and how do you incorporate the best self-care for you. And that can be by looking at your love languages. So whether it is acts of service, words of affirmation, gifts, quality time, or touch, be sure to know what your love language is and to use that as a indicator of how you should take care of yourself. I love this focus for a self-care routine. I love making a part of self-care the priority at the beginning of each day. So incorporating one or more of these into a morning routine. What it does is communicate to yourself that you are a priority by taking care of yourself first before you start tending to other people. So this is an amazing way to incorporate self-care into your daily routine, but also to do it in the way that is going to make the biggest impact. So if we're short on time and we're short on money, we would like to get the biggest bang for our buck, right? So love languages can be a great way to determine what the best self-care for you is. And lastly, I would just like to say thank you for listening. We are nearing our 100th episode, and I am so excited for this podcast to get into the hands and ears of all the people that need to hear it. So please share this episode with, especially with a single mom that could up her self-care game. And it can be a great way to just communicate that you care about somebody by sharing this episode. So thank you for doing so in advance. Thank you for listening. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll be back on Thursday with another interview for you. Talk soon, friends. Well, hey, thanks for listening today, and thank you for your reviews. They mean so much to me, and they help this podcast grow. I just love reading them. So if you haven't left one yet, please do. Now, listener, are you having your own start again moment? Your path to thriving after divorce is here. The future may be uncertain, but there is hope. We know that losing your identity as a wife can be disheartening, and the grief that follows is humbling. In fact, it can feel crippling. But if you are ready to get back on your feet, download my Start Again guide to get you pointed in the right direction. You can find it at ShaunaLee.com/startagain.